the west coast of the Florida Peninsula. We're having it start to slow down here a little bit, but it was very violent here for at least 10, 15 minutes. And what that did to all the areas, we're only hearing it right now. We'll see it when the light comes back up many hours from now. Ashleigh, are you ready? Are you in the chair?
You bet. I have a whole bunch of questions for you, Chris Cuomo. I've been watching your coverage all evening, and here's the most important one. For people around the country who are watching this Hurricane Milton coverage, it's hard for them to understand as they go channel surfing. Some reporters are being blasted. Some reporters can't hang on. Other reporters have rain behind them but no wind. Some reporters have wind and no water. So just can you set the scene for our viewers as to what this storm has done since it came ashore an hour and a half ago?
Well, first of all, right question. It's what makes Milton a little sneaky as a storm. Tremendous amount of energy in an expanding wind field. And the story began before I got here. Those outer bands did damage that we were not anticipating. I wasn't anticipating. In the middle and the eastern part, and even the southern part of the state, with all those tornadoes and rain that knocked out power and took lives. So that was before the main storm even got here. Now, the reason you're seeing different things is because it's all about where you are in that counterclockwise rotation, right? And then you have that one magic moment when the eye goes over, which is, of course, the calm in the middle of that storm. Then you have to deal with the specific dynamic of that storm and its impact on its backside of the conditions on the ground. So in Florida, you have the vulnerability from Helene. You have that it's saturated. You have a high water table. You don't have a lot of high ground here to get away from things. You put all of that together with all the debris that's already on the streets and people already compromised. It was easy pickings for this storm. Now you have the surge. We haven't really seen it yet, Ashleigh. It's going to be on your watch. So I'm glad people are tuning in right now for your coverage. The wind is going to start to move inland, right? That what they used to call the dirty edge, and now science has advanced beyond that. Yeah. But those, the brightly colored orange and reds that you see on your screen, that's bringing the water. But then there's going to be that momentum behind it, and that's going to be the surge, Ashleigh. And you're going to see 3, 4, 5, and more feet of storm surge that can change a community.
Okay, next question, and that is that in the lead up to all of this, the terror, so to speak, that was different about this storm, other than its sheer size, was all the debris that's out there that is destined to become projectile missiles, or is destined to become sharp, dangerous sludge as it gets wiped inland with that storm surge. Where are we in that picture?
I am sure that neighborhoods all over where we are right now are going to be filled with crap. There's going to be stuff all over the place. Nothing can stay down. Right before you came on, like I think in the last block, we heard this weird rattling, and I thought something in this massive parking structure that we're under, which is keeping us all safe, I thought something came loose. It turned out it was the sewage lid. It was rattling up and down like it was a dime, Ashleigh. Those things weigh 20, 30 pounds. And if we hadn't moved a car on top of it, it absolutely would have flown off. And who knows what that hits. If it hits a person, God forbid, forget it. You get hit with a 20-pound object, you know, in a 100-mile-an-hour wind. So the debris that was on the street is going to be everywhere. Whether or not the pumping stations can endure the surge is going to be a huge problem, because as we both know, that standing water is often standing sewage water. That's a huge problem for a community as well. So with the light of day, you're going to see a very different community structure than the one we started with yesterday.
And you know what? We've actually got a guest who's coming up later on in the program, Chris, who's going to talk about the specific elements that are in that water and why it is so critically dangerous. And I always heard about the disease-borne issues with flood water, but now they're talking about an actual flesh-eating proponent to this water. And so we're going to talk a lot about the specifics, which, I mean, that just makes my skin crawl literally when I hear about that. But can I just do some quick updates? Because as you've been talking, we're getting a lot of updates, about what you're going through. and make no mistake, Chris is standing in a Cat 3, right? But it doesn't matter a lick if it's a Cat 3, 4, or 5 when you're in 120-mile-an-hour winds as they sort of circle where Chris is and come back. So for anybody who thought, oh, danger's over Cat 3, not at all. The surge, the amount of rain that Chris has been talking about, all of it is a big problem, especially when you get to 120-mile-an-hour winds. The waterfall, up to 12 inches of rain expected. And again, only in a matter of 24 hours or so. So just imagine, it's like a wall of water coming from the sky and then a wall of water coming from the surge, which incidentally, in the Tampa area where you just saw Chris, is expected to be around 5 feet of a surge, which is the reason 5.5 million people were asked to evacuate this storm's path. Already 1.2 million out of power. So that's why we see these dark pictures. And you see the flashes. Sometimes some of those flashes, that one looks like it's a light, but sometimes the flashes that you see in the live shots are transformers blowing. That's a phenomenon we see all too often. I'm sure Chris has been watching it most of the night. I think Brian Enton is also standing by live right now. He is our senior national correspondent. He's been stationed in Tampa, Florida. He was waterside for most of the day, obviously now cannot be waterside. There's your live shot from the University of Tampa right there. It should tell you what it's like to be on the ground, clearly not somewhere you want to be. But Brian, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'd love you to come in and just give me the lay of the land from where you are compared to where Chris is.
Yeah, so the power just went out, Ashleigh. We were down along Tampa Bay, and we had to come up a couple of blocks to this parking garage because it got really crazy. Like, I had just said to Luis and our producer, Lauren, I was like, wow, this isn't so bad. And then that was obviously the wrong thing to say because it got bad pretty quickly, and it's just gotten a little crazy out here. The water came up. This is in the garage I wanted to show you. It's been flooding, and hopefully we'll be able to get back over to the bay for you in a little bit. We just wanted to come up here while we kind of evaluated what was going on. This is just this big condo building right next to Tampa Bay, and we're on the opposite side. And you can see it's just, when you come out into these little corridors, you see how windy it is out here. And you can see all the water. And if Luis goes up to the trees, it'll give you an idea of how windy it is out here. And the power was on probably until about a half an hour ago or so. And then the power went out, and like you said, you started to see the blue and the green flashes, which at first you think, oh, is that lightning? That might be lightning. But then you realize that it's just the transformers blowing and sort of reflecting off of the clouds. So it gets real windy, the rain comes in, it settles down again a little bit. But what I'm interested to see, and hopefully we can venture back down there in a little bit, is all the water got sucked out of the bay. And I'm assuming soon it's going to start coming back in, and that's when the storm surge is going to start, Ashleigh.
Okay, well, I want you guys to be careful. The other question I had for you, Brian, I know that a lot of people evacuated, much of the reporting all day and into the night tonight as that storm has just come ashore. Again, we're only an hour, 40 minutes into the storm hitting at Siesta Key, just, south of Bradenton. Is the projectiles and the signage and the fencing and the roof tiles and the siding, off of buildings. Those are the things that start to get loose in 120-mile-an-hour winds and start flying past what should be desolated streets, but for the reporters who are taking these risks, to show the people that they should not be out. Are you seeing any evidence of that yet?
Yeah, maybe just show the trees, Louise. I just want to show you how windy it's getting right now up there. Oh, I just saw another one of those flashes. So where we were with all the debris, now it just got calm again for a second, so maybe we can walk out a little bit. Where we were with all the debris in some of the neighborhoods yesterday, I mean, you saw when I was live with you last night, it's like 8 or 10 feet high. We haven't been back over there since this really started, but I can't even imagine what it's like now, Ashleigh. I mean, you see how I don't know how windy it is right now. It's major gusts. I can't even imagine. All that stuff has just got to be everywhere in those neighborhoods. And then when the surge comes in, it's just going to be a real mess.
Can you tell me also, because I've been following your coverage all day, when you were able to be on the dock where that boat was parked with a man who on social media goes by Lieutenant Dan. You know, all I could imagine was that boat just being thrashed up against that dock. Storm surge be damned. That boat was going to be that boat was going to get thrown up and onto the land. Do we know what his status is? Is he still on that boat, that Lieutenant Dan?
Gosh, I hope not. I mean, the last time we were there, how long ago, Lauren, did we see Lieutenant Dan? Maybe 2 hours? Yeah. Like 2 hours ago, we went down there and checked on him, but that was before all of this started. And he had kind of repositioned his boat on a different side. And he was just insistent that he was not getting off that boat. The police had been down there. The mayor had been down there. The mayor said on TV that they took him to a shelter, which I think someone told her bad information because it wasn't true. When she said that on TV, I was standing right next to him and he was on the boat. So I just hope he's okay and that, you know, hopefully he decided to get off in the last 2 hours. When we can get back down there and maybe during your show, because if this moves through quickly, maybe show again, Louis. It's something starting to really, oh boy. It's really starting to blow, but yeah, if we can get back down there in the next couple hours, we'll go check on him.
Well, I don't want you to do anything, you know, that's risky, because obviously with that storm surge coming in, I think one of the last places you want to be is right next to that dock, that pier, that sort of drop-off where you were earlier. I know this is hard, Brian, but it's just so fascinating to see you in this spot where I know no one else is, including first responders. And I wanted to ask you about that. They say at 40 miles an hour, when that wind is 40 miles an hour, they suspend operations. Have you seen any red flashing lights, any emergency vehicles, any patrol vehicles, any fire vehicles anywhere since that, you know, landfall?
No, I haven't. Not in the last couple of hours. And again, since the power has gone out, I haven't seen any flashing lights or anything like that. So I think people, yeah, maybe show the trees. It's just these trees are really, we're kind of in a nice little safe spot tucked away, but you can really tell when you see the trees what's going on here. But I haven't seen any first responders, and a lot of people evacuated, like even in this building.
Fire and sparks.
And there is some, yeah, Lauren's saying she saw some sparks. Even in this building where we are, it looks like it's called Atrium, I haven't seen one person. I think most of the people just evacuated. There aren't even a lot of cars in the garage, and that's what we did. You know, we were worried about our truck, because if you mess up your truck, as you know, covering these things, we didn't want to get stranded. We didn't want to not be able to get on TV, and the water was coming up, and we didn't know which way to go. So we saw this garage of this condominium building and decided, let's just go in the garage. Luckily, they left the gate open, so we were able to pull the truck inside. Oh, look at this. Look at the trees. Yeah. Wow. This is a big one. So we've got the truck safe inside, so all of our equipment is safe, and then we can just kind of come outside and kind of see what's going on, but quickly retreat back into the garage.
Yeah, I think what's important for our viewers to understand is that a lot of these residents who decided to stay, you know, whether it's in Tampa where you are, in Sarasota where our Alex Capriello is, and I'm going to talk to him in a minute, they're looking out their windows at this, but they do not hear or feel or see the real force until you have sort of a relativity, someone like Brian standing there to show you, you know, what this is like. And by the way, this is not even the full force. You know, obviously what Brian is going through is the most protected we can be to show you the storm effect without putting our crew in danger, without putting Brian in danger, and without losing power and losing equipment and turning into projectiles ourselves. So listen, there you have it. Do you see the number on your screen? It looks like a big 2. It is a category 2. It has changed. That is important. Everything has just changed. We have an update, because at category 2, lest you think that this isn't such a big deal anymore, how does 110 mile an hour wind sound? When I come back after the break, Alex Capriello is in that wind. He is in Sarasota, which is essentially right where that storm came ashore. You're going to see what it looks like, hear what it's like. An update in a moment. Is in Sarasota, which is just slightly north of where that eye came ashore. I don't know if you could feel it when it happened around 8:30, Alex. I can see your signal is obviously feeling the full force of Hurricane Milton, but take me to the moment that it came ashore for you in Sarasota and what's been happening since and now.
Yeah, Ashleigh, it was unbelievable watching how this hurricane has moved through in certain waves, right? At first, when it first made landfall about 10 miles south, we had downpours coming. I had to brace myself to handle those wind gusts. And then all of a sudden, it was the peace that we talk about when the eye of the storm passes through. It lasted for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and it was unbelievable, Ashleigh, because it was as if no storm, no hurricane was surrounding us at all. Peaceful streets. Of course, there was debris on the ground and on the streets that we had to dodge, but really, it was like there was nothing around us. And then all of a sudden, just like that, a moment's notice, it just changed. We were feeling some of the most powerful wind gusts that I've experienced all day long. All of a sudden, we were seeing the storm surge get higher and higher as it was pushing on towards us where we were standing at the marina. It was our last live shot with Chris Cuomo, and I told those guys, you got to take this now because this storm surge is coming, and it's coming quick. My car, and we headed inland where we're currently standing about 3 miles from that shore, but it didn't come without a bit of a sticky situation. My crew and I in our 2 cars, we found ourselves jetting towards the inland when all of a sudden we were facing head on. I tell you, it was probably about 2-3 feet deep, and we had to make a split-second decision. How do we get past this? We basically gunned it in our car. We were able to, thankfully, thank God, make it out of that very, very high water. Our cars pushing through it, and the wind blowing all around us. It took us about 15 minutes to get to where we're currently standing. And here, now we're not dealing with that storm surge, but most certainly those very, very powerful wind gusts, as hopefully this Hurricane Milton is making its way further and further inland. But yes, still to this very moment, very powerful wind gusts where I'm at in Sarasota.
Alex, the change that we got just before we came to you was that it's now reduced to a Category 2, but that it's still 110-mile-an-hour winds that are as dangerous as the Category 3. That's not me talking. That's the officials talking. 110-mile-an-hour winds, and it's moving slowly and dropping so much rain. Did you notice, and this is important for people to realize, could you notice at all the fact that the storm went from Category 3 to Category 2, or is it all the same when you're on the ground?
It's all the same when you're on the ground. It is such a powerful phenomenon to feel Mother Nature's wrath hitting you all at once. I couldn't tell if it was 50, 80, 100, 120 mile per hour winds. All I knew was that this was the most powerful wind that I had ever experienced in my life. And really, when we've been talking for the 8 hours about the threat of storm surge, it wasn't until that last half an hour to an hour where I really felt the fear of God. This is the reason why they've been telling all these people that are in these evacuation zones to get out of their homes, because it comes so quick, Ashleigh. It felt during that eye of the storm as if everything was going to be fine and peaceful, and then all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, I'm seeing waves crash up on my feet. And then just to have to drive through it on low-lying levels of the land, where it really did raise that much higher, it really spoke to me about how serious these officials have been taking it, why they have been telling people to go inland, go to Orlando, go wherever you can, go to a shelter. Earlier today, I was at an elementary school where I saw 1,000 people all hunkered together in the cafeteria. Such a powerful storm. The threats of that flooding, of those wind gusts that can pick up these pieces of debris from Helene and throw like projectiles, it really spoke to me. It didn't matter to me whether it was a Hurricane 2 or 3. Nature really show its full force for this last several hours now.
Alex, we're losing your signal ever so often, but we are getting your message very, very clearly. So I'm very appreciative for that, and I understand what you're going through. I mean, look at the banner on the bottom of the screen right now. 10 to 16 inches of rain already in Tampa, St. Pete's. That is just going to be made worse by that surge that Chris Cuomo was talking about. In a moment, I'm going to be talking to the mayor of Tampa, St. Pete's. In fact, I think it's the mayor of St. Pete's. Let me just clarify with the control room. We're taking a break, but on the other side of the break, it's either the mayor of Tampa or the mayor of St. Pete's, and either one of them. And the clarity is Sarasota. Back right after this. In Milton, as it comes ashore across the state of Florida. And when I say the state of Florida, I mean the whole state of Florida. The reach of this storm is simply remarkable. It has hundreds of miles of bands that are being affected all the way to Georgia. And most officials have said there's no one in Florida who's not going to be affected by this storm. And to highlight that point, I just went to break telling you that after the break, we'd be talking to Liz Alpert, who's the mayor of Sarasota. Liz Alpert, the mayor of Sarasota, right now is being hit so hard with the storm that she can't even do the interview. We are holding out hope that when this latest portion of the storm that is just hammering her city, she'll be able to join us and tell us what she's been through, what the city is going through, what her residents are going through, what things look like there. In the meantime, I want to bring in Christy King and Melinda Brower. They are in Tampa, that is north of Sarasota, and not, not without its risks. They may be in Tampa, but you saw Chris Cuomo in Tampa. You saw Brian Enton getting lashed in Tampa as well. And I think did our shot just drop for them as well? And this is the reality of doing hurricane coverage. The number of signals that are just literally frying on us as transformers blow, as people lose power, as Wi-Fi signals are just obliterated. It obviously makes the work on the ground extremely difficult for our reporters. It makes the communication extremely difficult for the officials trying to tell the national news, the local news, what's happening. And it makes it brutal for the emergency responders, who I will remind you, a half hour into this program, that at 40 miles an hour, when winds are 40 miles an hour, they suspend emergency operations. Look at the bottom of your screen. The winds are 110 miles per hour right now. And if that's not bad enough, that punishing force, 9 to 13 foot surge is expected to hit certain parts of central coastal West Coast Florida. It is just a remarkable storm, and don't let it fool you that the storm has actually dipped to a Category 2. It makes no difference to those who are on the ground. They couldn't feel the difference of winds at 120 to 110 miles an hour. It's scientific. It is not physical. You don't feel the difference when it changes to a Cat 2. And the damage, especially with all of that debris that is just sailing around in those winds and then sloshing around in the surge. Remember, when that surge comes ashore, it's powerful enough to take houses off their foundation. Now add to it a whole bunch of underwater torpedoes that is that sludge and debris from Hurricane Helene just 2 weeks ago. So the damage you can't see necessarily, because there are your pictures. I mean, these pictures are the best you can do when you are in the midst of the hurricane actually hitting. And the best we can do is just hope to hell that the guests we're talking to, who all of a sudden disappear, are actually okay. I want to go out to our correspondent Ryan Bass right now. I don't even know where Ryan Bass is right now, but I know that he has been hopscotching. And Ryan, are you in St. Pete's at this point? I've been watching you throughout the day, but because you guys are on the move, I wasn't even sure where you are. All right, take me there and tell me what you're seeing.
Yeah, we are here in St. Pete, downtown St. Pete, just so you know, Ashleigh. And yeah, we've been hopping around all day, really all week. We went, yesterday we were at Madeira Beach, we were at Treasure Island, talking about some of the debris, which is obviously going to be a concern with how bad the winds are, right? With a lot of the debris still left over from Hurricane Helene, and so many homes and businesses and communities still recovering from that storm, and now having to evacuate and preparing for what we've seen here. I'll step out just a tad bit into the elements here so you can see. We're still getting a lot of these wind gusts. Ashleigh, about an hour and a half ago, these things were massive. We had reports of about 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts here in St. Petersburg. Egmont Key, which is in the water, basically one of the waterways, just about 20 minutes of a boat ride from here, 40 minutes. That measured at about 109 miles per hour. So we've seen a lot of the wind whipping up, especially, and there you go, another wind gust that's just come through downtown St. Peter. The flooding's going to be a concern, and I heard you talking about this, Ashleigh. We got reports that there were 5 inches of rain in St. Petersburg in just 1 hour. 5 inches, 10 inches in 3 hours in total. That rain is the reason why there is surge and flood warnings that are happening until 2:30 in the morning. And we're approaching high tide. 6 a.m. is when high tide is in this area. And St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay are filled with so many low-lying communities that are vulnerable to not just the surge that we talked about with the storm, but the flash flooding. And when folks do get an opportunity to wake up tomorrow morning and see, their homes and kind of what's left, you're going to see a lot of flooding. You're going to see a lot of the damage from the debris that's flying into homes. And a lot of people were wondering and told me today, one guy who's been here for 36 years says, I don't know what I'm going to come back to when I come back to my home, because he ended up evacuating and heeding those warnings. So, Ashleigh, a lot of wind. We've heard pops from transformers that have been breaking here and popping throughout the neighborhood as well. Luckily, we still have power where we are, but lights just flickered there. So a lot of people, 1.6 million, I think, now in the state of Florida without power. So there are 43,000 linemen on standby, Governor Ron DeSantis has said, to come in and try and restore that power once this storm passes. But we're not there yet, Ashleigh. We've got a few more hours of this thing before we're free and clear of Milton, which obviously has lashed us pretty good.
So I just need to reiterate what you just said, that 5 inches of rain fell in 1 hour. And then I think you said 10 inches in 3 hours. And the banner on the bottom of the screen says 10 to 16 inches of rain has already fallen in Tampa, St. Pete's. I need you to sort of clarify for viewers, though, because, again, we hear about people who say, I'm staying, I'm riding it out, I'm not leaving, I've been through hurricanes before. And we expect that when they heed these, warnings, you're going to die in your home, which is what one of the mayors told her residents. We expect that it might look different than what it looks like behind you. We expect that when we hear about 10 to 16 inches of rain falling already, you would be up to your chin. So help the viewers understand why it looks different where you're standing than what the picture really is and what the stats are really reporting out.
So the reason why it looks different where I am, Ashleigh, I'm at 50 feet of elevation in the center of the peninsula of St. Petersburg. That's why. I'm in downtown St. Pete. I'm in a higher elevation of area. If you joined us a few hours ago, I know you mentioned watching some of our live shots. We were out at the St. Pete Pier, which was being lashed with a lot of those waves and a lot of that water from the bay that was coming over the wall, the seawall. And that's a lot of what we've seen. So where I am, but there's still some flooding. I mean, if I step out here for a second, you've got a little bit of these floodwaters here that are starting to form in some of the streets here, Ashleigh. So, we are getting a little bit of the flooding here, but when you've got so many low-lying areas, and for people that aren't familiar with Tampa, St. Petersburg, this is the number one area in the entire country that's prone to storm surge. Number one of any city, of any area in the continental U.S. And so that is the main concern. And so when you're talking about 10 to 16 inches of rainfall, that's going to continue to stockpile, especially when we get to high tide. We're not even on high tide yet. That's at 6 in the morning. We've got hours and hours of this water continuing to rise across Tampa Bay. That's going to continue to raise these floodwaters. So that's the biggest concern. And while you may not be seeing it here behind me and seeing a lot of the rainwaters and the winds, I guarantee you, in some of the neighborhoods we went in this morning and last night, they're covered in rainwater right now, and in floodwater, and in surge water. Maybe not what was projected of 10 to 15 feet or 16 feet like we were hearing if the storm had actually made landfall north of where we are. Because it made south, that's why Alex Capriello has seen so much of that surge, because of where the storm fell. So when we wake up tomorrow morning and we get a chance to survey some of these neighborhoods, you're going to see floodwaters in homes, you're going to see damage, and you're going to see a lot of these neighborhoods and neighbors that are already going through so much from Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago, Ashleigh, that are going to come back and have to continue to rebuild even more on top of what we saw just 2 weeks ago.
Ryan, your reporting has just been stellar, and I know the conditions are really difficult. You're doing it all without notes. It's all up here, especially as you're getting battered. So I really appreciate this. I'm going to come back to you in a bit because it's important to keep an eye on what's happening in St. Pete's. I also want you to know that we're watching closely what's going on in Tampa. We've just had flash flood emergency in Tampa. We've also learned that apparently 9 inches of rain dropped in 3 hours over Tampa Bay. What does that mean for people who decided not to leave? Because so many were told to go. In fact, someone who works on my staff begged her mom and her aunt to please leave Tampa. They did not, and they are going to report live for us right after this.
your doctor about Fluzone High Dose or Flublock.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Hurricane Milton. Some of these pictures belie what's really going on the ground on the west coast of Florida. This big picture, Sarasota, kind of looks like it might just be a rainy night. Look over at Fort Myers. It's a little closer to that. And the University of Tampa shot. It's a little closer to that. And that tracking Milton, Category 2, it goes 4, 3, 2. Yes, it's a Category 2, but the winds are 110 miles per hour. That's what you can't see in your big picture there in Sarasota. I want to tell you a little bit about Tampa, because Tampa has avoided a direct hit for 100 years, and that's why they're calling this the storm of the century. The entire Tampa area is under an extreme wind warning, which is very rare. All of the shelters there are full. FEMA is saying to the residents, do not go out into the storm. Just clear and simple and plain as day like that. That language. Stay put, they say. Do not go out into this storm. There is a flash flood emergency in Tampa. And I will remind you that Tampa Bay is home to more than 3.3 million people. Many have evacuated. Many left before the streets started looking like this, before sewers started just spitting out and throwing their sewer caps as far as they could. One of those residents is Christy King, and she happens to be the aunt of one of my staff members who told me she asked Christy King, her aunt, to leave to evacuate. She asked her mom to evacuate, and you are staying put. So, Christy, you're just going to have to tell me, did you make the right choice? What's happening now where you are?
Ashleigh, I feel we definitely made the right choice. I am a fourth-generation Floridian from this area, and this is the worst I've ever seen. I've never seen this type of storm surge come in, ever. It's something. You actually spoke to a friend of mine, Terry, and with their house and everything that happened. And right now, we're getting through it. It's what we do if you're from here.
Well, let me ask you this. We were seeing a picture of you. You've got your hoodie on, and you've got a very pretty piece of artwork behind you. I'm wondering if you're in an inner room, if you're on an upper floor. You are. So there are no windows that you're exposed to?
Oh, no. Living in a house that was built in 1938. So there's tons of windows, but we've been helping the neighbors. I mean, it's not like you're just staying in your house. It's like, there's a lot of wind. It's incredible out there, actually. Our generator, everyone else in the neighborhood, if you don't have a generator, you don't have electricity right now. And we've even been worried about the water coming in and basically killing ours. But,
yeah.
We're still here.
So you said you're in a house, so you're on ground level. Are you on the second floor? Are you on the first floor? Do you have a worry about flooding where you are?
We're in the highest point in South Tampa, highest elevation in South Tampa. We're in Zone C, so we have not evacuated, and but we're on the ground floor right now. However, I could send you videos of what's coming on with our pool in the backyard, even though we're draining it. It's just a crazy time. It is.
I can see your generator. I see that you put sandbags around your generator. This was sent in a little earlier. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor? And I don't want you to take any risks, Christy, please. But I saw you sort of looking from your laptop, off the camera, and I was wondering what you're looking at. Are you able to see out your window? I would really love to see your perspective and your vantage point as you ride out a really horrible 110 mile an hour winds. Show me whatever's most lit, whatever's lit up and whatever you can see the most. And again, please do this only if it's safe.
Please understand that not everything is lit unless you have a generator. And it's loud. And it's very loud. Turning it around. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Now the windows are closed. Wow, it just looks like a sea of water out there. Are those floodwaters, or is that surge, or is that rain? Okay, thank you, because I started to panic that you were, ground level might not be the best place for you. All right, so best you can, sort of show me what you're seeing and hearing. And again, don't do anything risky, please.
Well, I'll take you out to the front yard. You have to understand, Ashleigh, we are at the highest level in South Tampa. So this is nothing in comparison to what Tampa's going through. Truly. Hold on. See, all the power is down everywhere else. We have a generator. No one else does.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. 1.6 million of your neighbors, Christy, 1.6 million of your neighbors are without power. So you are very fortunate to have that generator and very smart to have put the sandbags around. Please be careful and heed the warnings from FEMA, even though it may seem a little calm right now. The storm packs a hell of a wallop on the dirty side. So just please mind your safety and the safety of those you're with, and report back to us as conditions change. But thank you for this. I really appreciate it. And next time, listen to your niece. Your niece is a smart lady. She works for me. I hired her because she's that smart. And I'm sure, by the way, I'm sure she's very happy to see you in good spirits. She's been worried about you all day. I'm gonna let you go right now, Christy, only because I want to get an update from our meteorologist who's been tracking this. I'm so curious as to what's been happening as the storm moves from where Christy is in Tampa, where, these outer bands go for 300 miles. They're going all the way to Savannah, Georgia. Think about this. The entire Florida state, all the way to, and listen, I'm not going to say it. You can say it. Jim Danner is our senior meteorologist. Work with me on why some of the live shots we see seem calm and quiet. Other ones seem like they're just getting hammered.
Well, a lot of it actually depends on which side of the storm, obviously, you're on. If you're on the north and east side, that's where they've been getting the brunt of it. We've seen all the heavy rain. Tampa, over 10 inches of rain in just a couple-hour period. So that's you're seeing. Then on the back side of it, you get that little lull before the backside of the storm comes through. You get the eye, all this, a lot of elements. And then the south side of the storm, you're not really seeing a whole lot. One thing that we were talking about earlier was, yes, the Hurricane Center, the last update, did bring the winds down now to 105 miles per hour, still Category 2, but that's getting out the story. It's, again, the rain, the wind gusts. The wind gusts are still up around 115, 120 miles per hour. So you're still going to be feeling it, and it really can't notice the fact that it's come down some when you have the strong wind gusts to go along with it as well. You can see the center now is well off towards the south and east of Tampa, right in through here. So that backside of the storm is coming back through now. You're going to get that secondary push of the storm surge back behind it as well. And so that is going to be coming along. Things are going to improve very quickly by sunrise tomorrow, but we still have a number of hours to go. And this is going to be a problem. So we're talking about down towards the south, some St. Petersburg, Bradenton, Sarasota, Venice. Not a whole lot going on as far as rainfall. Still got the strong winds, though. And the center of the storm came in right here through Sarasota and Venice. So they've seen the worst of it earlier. But now they're about to see the backside of that and some more of those very heavy rain bands coming through and some of those strong winds as well. And then up towards the north, Tampa, over towards Lakeland, right in through here, we've had a lot of heavy rain. And so those rainfall totals have been amassed pretty quickly up to around 10 plus inches. We still have that storm surge of 12 to 15 feet in the area shaded in purple. So again, this is going to be an ongoing situation. Here is rainfall estimates. Look at this. Tampa over 10 inches, Largo 12.4 inches. So again, we're going to have this problem continuing through the overnight.
I'm interrupting you only because I'm so curious when you said, Tampa, things were quiet. We were just talking to Christy, and it sounded like everything was over, that this would be a perfect time for her to go out and survey, what those punishing winds and rain did. But this is exactly what you're saying. This is the quiet. It's not that she's in the eye of the storm, because I think a lot of people think the eye is that brief moment where you've got to be very careful. There's more to it than that, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. I mean, and as we've been talking about, it's a broad storm, rain bands going all the way up into Georgia, 300 miles or so. And so, that's the deal, is that you get those little lulls in there depending upon where the bands are, depending upon where the center of the storm is, that sort of thing. So we're going to take this. Let me see if I can get this back out. There we go. So you can see again, this is the swirl of the hurricane. Now the main energy is off towards the east, back towards the west over the Gulf, heading towards the coastal areas. It isn't going to be improving very quickly, but then you go into the central and eastern parts of Florida, they're still going to be on the gun for the overnight period. And we were talking, too, about how most of the state of Florida is having influences from this. Earlier today, between the National Weather Service in Miami and Tampa, they had a record number of tornado warnings that they issued, more than any other day in the state's history.
You know, I saw something about that, and these tornadic supercells. Look at that. I mean, it's just insane to see those tornado warnings. But there was something they called tornadic supercells that were these rotating thunderstorms that spit out tornadoes. And they were doing that all the way on the East Coast, like St. Lucie. Can we get those pictures up real quickly? Yes. I'm going to ask my control room while I've got you, Jim. On the East Coast in St. Lucie, and just if you point to where that is on the map behind you real quickly, Jim, so people can see it. Before the storm even hit the West Coast, at St. Lucie, Florida, the sheriff's department was hit with tornadoes and got decimated. Like all of their structures blown apart. I don't know if, can the control room get those pictures up for me to show the viewers? We've got this incredible tornado damage that happened even before the storm landed. They lost their structure, Jim, their vehicles. Look at this. Look what happened to all their emergency vehicles, their cruisers. This, again, I can't stress this enough. This is on correct me if I'm wrong, this is on the East Coast before this storm even came upon the West Coast. So these tornadic supercells through these tornadoes all the way across the state. And these are the vehicles that need to, go out and rescue people tomorrow. Hey, Jim, thank you so much for helping us out and helping us understand this. I really appreciate it. I'm going to just take a quick break here. We're going to set the scene at the top of the hour and give you some updates, like we're now starting to hear about hundreds of homes damaged. All of that coming in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Hey, Amazon Prime members, why pay more for groceries? Shop Prime exclusive deals at Amazon Fresh and get 50% off a 3-pound bag of grapes for $3.99. Get deals on thousands of grocery items and save up to 50% on weekly favorites. Shop Prime exclusive deals at Amazon Fresh. Select varieties.
Heart disease and stroke can affect women at any age. In fact, almost half of women over the age of 20 are living with some form of cardiovascular disease.
I never thought it could happen to me. Women experience unique life stages such as pregnancy or menopause that can increase their risk of developing cardiovascular disease over the course of their lifetime.
But here's the good news. Women have the best resource. We have each other.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that can be fatal. Don't use anything indoors that burns fuel, such as gasoline-powered generators, camp stoves and lanterns, or charcoal grills. Opening doors and windows or using fans isn't enough. Have your vents and chimneys checked to make sure water heater and gas furnace exhausts aren't blocked. If you feel sick, dizzy, or weak while using a generator, get to fresh air right away. From the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
Ever tried balancing a dozen eggs in one hand while hopping on one foot? Or maybe juggling cats while riding the unicycle? Sounds ridiculous, right? But guess what? That's exactly what texting while driving is like. Your human brain only has the capacity to focus on one thing at a time. So when you're behind the wheel, give driving your undivided attention.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Did you know that everyday conversations can help your children build math skills? Discovering numbers and shapes with your children in any language is a great way to make math fun. When you get excited about pointing and counting or comparing shapes, your child will love to learn math, and they are never too young to start. Visit talkingisteaching.org/resources/math for free videos, tips, and guides to transform everyday moments into magical moments for math.
Thanks for listening to NewsNation on the Go. I'm Connell McShane, and this is America's fastest growing cable news network, delivering fact-based, unbiased news from all sides.
Miles, you're late. Again.
You are not living
Where have you
up to
been?
your full potential.
No sense of responsibility.
This is Kevin Love. I've partnered with The Spider Within, a Spider-Verse story to let you know that everyone's going through something, even superheroes.
You're not reaching your full potential. Unacceptable, Miles.
Let's take the stigma out of asking for help.
Hey, Dad, you got a minute?
Yeah, what's up, son?
I just got so much on my mind, you know?
If you need support, visit kevinlovefund.org to learn more.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
VA disability compensation is a monthly tax-free payment to veterans who got sick or injured in the military and to veterans whose service worsened an existing condition. You may qualify for VA disability compensation for physical and mental health conditions that developed or worsened due to service. Learn more at va.gov/disability.
This is the Chef of Love, Chef Jannard, TV host and restaurateur. My grandparents harvested their land to sell food and share this overflowing bounty with our community. Grandma said, for every yam we pick, we give one away. In the world they cultivated, I love preparing and eating dinner with my family on Sundays. When our resources changed, food assistance programs sustained us. They gave me fuel to start my first culinary business at 16 years old, and inspiration to donate the extra food in my community. Through my life, I've developed an appetite to work with others to ensure everyone has access to the nutritious food we need to thrive. Together we can help end hunger. Come on, join the movement with Feeding America by volunteering, donating, and advocating. Learn more at feedingamerica.org/act now.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone, to the top of the hour. We have been doing continuing coverage on this crisis unfolding in Florida tonight. Hurricane Milton coming ashore 2.5 hours ago with a vengeance. So much so that coverage is difficult. Many of the live shots with reporters, with people who decided to ride out the storm, with officials who are in the queue waiting to talk to us live, many of those shots have gone down as we've been trying to do this reporting. Our reporters themselves have had to seek shelter